Hi everyone, so I want to talk to you today about the 3 magic steps to energy alignment. Now, you'll know you're out of energy alignment for a few of these things that might come up for you. You are manifesting, but you're not attracting what you want in your life. You have some kind of physical pain, something wrong with your body. You find yourself getting really overwhelmed by situations. You feel like your sensitivities are a burden. You're picking up lots of energy from others. You might be crying a lot. You might be feeling anxiety. You might be feeling depression. You might be feeling symptoms that aren't yours, that you're picking up from others as well. And you may just have this feeling of being out of alignment. And I was shown this with a client, that she was, her soul's path and her mission in this world was to be on this like a train on the tracks, and she was out of alignment. She'd come off the tracks, and it was about getting her back onto those tracks, back into that space of alignment. And when we're in alignment, everything flows for us. And this is because everything is energy, and we know this from research in the quantum as well, that everything is energy. So everything that we are attracting, everything that we are being shown in our environment, and I've also just had this conversation about relationships with another client as well. If your relationships in your life are not what you intended to attract, then they are there to either show you a boundary, or they are there to show you, because like attracts like atomically, that something is not in alignment for you. So I'm going to give you the 3 steps today, 3 magical steps that get you into alignment. And some of these are steps, some of these are awarenesses, but of this concept that everything is energy, here are some ways you can get into energetic alignment. So, number 1, thinking about your sensitive gifts. For so many of us, we do not see our sensitivities as gifts, and we see them as a burden, and we're feeling everything all the time, feeling everyone else's emotions, or perhaps feeling our own emotions and labeling them as our own, when 90% of the time our emotions are not even our own. We are picking them up from everyone around us. But this is an incredible gift, and especially if you are doing healing work or any work where you are working with people, or just the way you are in your relationships, this is an incredible gift, because you can feel what is going on for your clients on a very deep level. You can feel what it is that they need. You can even feel what the world needs, and if you have that opportunity to, perhaps you're in some community somewhere where you have that opportunity to do social reform, to make a difference with what you do, to volunteer, to make a difference with the work that you do. These are incredible gifts, because you are simply feeling what it is that we need, what it is that the collective needs, what it is that that person needs. So this is an incredible gift, and we have to honor those gifts. So within those sensitive gifts, we need to honor them. So one of the things that I do is set very firm boundaries on making sure that that energy is used for good, that energy is used where there is an energy exchange, and I have a paying client pay me for me to reflect back on what I'm feeling for them. Not going out to, for me, this is even as simple as sometimes getting shopping deliveries rather than going to the supermarket, because I know that I'm going to feel everything. And that is one way that I protect that energy and make sure that it is channeled into the right mode. Also for myself as well, having that really deep knowing and intuition, and being able to connect to that for myself and what that next step might be for me as well as my clients. So that's number 1. The magic step to energy alignment is using your sensitivities as gifts. So have a little reflect and think about what that means for you. How do I make this burden into a gift? Because this is what I'm hearing. I'm feeling everything. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm people pleasing. But how do we create some boundaries to make that into a gift? Okay, that is number 1. Number 2, an awareness of the dark. Now, this is probably quite unpopular, me saying this, but the spiritual community is broken, and there is so much denial of the dark. And I'm not just talking about those that, send love and light and everything is love and light. But a lot of the practices in spirituality, a lot of the healing techniques that are being used are very damaging. And and they are bringing in more of the dark. So we need to firstly have an awareness of the dark, both within the world, within the energy. There is darkness there, but there is also darkness within ourselves, and this is where shadow work comes in. So firstly, we need to take responsibility and own this darkness within us. And if anything comes up for us, any triggers, anyone that is shown to us, an example of this I had was having some narcissistic people in my life who were simply there to show me their gifts and how I needed to integrate this shadow into me. And those people then sort of then went. And so we need to take responsibility for our own selves, and by doing shadow work in this way, we can also become a clear channel. So when we talk about, so it links into number 1, when we start to use our sensitive gifts, when we are a clear channel for energy, we can tap into our sensitive gifts much easier. If we're doing the shadow work, we can kind of see these shadows. I almost see them as like little blockages within our energy system, within our subconscious mind. And this sits within the work of Carl Jung. And we want to be alchemizing those shadows. So we want to be looking at those shadows within us and doing shadow work. And if you need, if you want to know how to do that, I have created other videos on that, or ask me any questions. But having that awareness for the darkness in the world as well. And if you are going to, you're highly sensitive, and if you are going to very busy places, then, you need to take responsibilities around that, around clearing your energy when you come home, clearing the dark, doing entity clearings. This is something, again, that I'm seeing and feeling and hearing a lot at the moment is, a medium saying, oh, I'm a medium, I just connect to spirit. No, you don't. Because, and I'm sorry if this is an unpopular opinion, but everything is energy. So you are connecting to the quantum field. You are connecting to energy. You can't say, oh, I'm just doing Reiki, or I'm just doing mediumship, or I'm just doing this, or I'm just doing that, and oh no, I don't connect to that, because you're opening up to it. If you're opening up to spirit, you're opening up to entities, okay? And thankfully, one of my mentors, who I did my mediumship training with, Victoria, she taught me about entities. So I now know and have that awareness. But that is not broadly known out there, okay? So it's taking firstly responsibility for your own shadows, your own triggers, your own personal development, and not responding from that place. There's nothing wrong with you. It doesn't mean you're unhealed. We all have shadows, but just having an awareness of it. And having an awareness of energy and dark energy in the world, and be really discerning about who you work with. The person that you go to for healing, the person that you're coaching with, do they have an awareness of entities? Are they clearing themselves? Or are you going into that energy as well? Be very, very discerning about who you work with, because not everybody has this awareness. So that's the second thing, an awareness of the dark. So it feels very dark, number 2. But number 3 can help with this, okay? And there's nothing wrong with any of this. Nothing wrong with any of this. Number 3 is grounding. So what I mean by this is 2 things. Firstly, literally getting out in nature. I've got my beautiful fern behind me here. Getting out in nature. Connecting to trees, being in the forest, being by the sea. I've got my feet on my grounding mat at the moment. So actually physically grounding the energy, because we are picking up a lot of energy, and sometimes it just needs to pass through us, okay? A bit like when a lightning bolt hits the ground, it grounds the energy, okay? If we're not grounding that energy, then we're becoming a lightning bolt that's just walking around picking up more energy, okay? We want to ground it down. And that's just energy. That's what energy does, okay? And the second part of grounding is being aware of the human. Now, what I have seen happen is a bit of a separation between, and the quantum is very much bridging this gap, but there is a separation between the scientific communities and the spiritual communities. It's almost like one or the other. And I was in this dance myself, right? So my background is in positive psychology. I've got a psychology degree. I researched a lot of the Harvard Business Review and research around mindfulness when I brought mindfulness into my practices, and I was very much the science and very in denial of the spiritual. Then I moved into the spiritual and I did energy healing, and what I found in that experience is you need to have an awareness of both. And the quantum actually bridges that gap between the two, because the quantum research that is coming out, and if you look at things like the work of Joe Dispenza, this bridges that gap, and it really starts to put science behind some of the, the spiritual techniques as well. So that grounding element is both like physical grounding, but it's also bringing these human and scientific practices into play. So this is being very, very responsible in terms of, and this is what I do in my quantum alignment program with my clients. What we do is, to get in quantum alignment, we have to set the basics in place. So if you don't have a meditation practice in place, then we don't go off and start to play with energy, okay? Because if you haven't got the basic well-being practices in place, your body cannot hold that energy. You cannot go to that level. If you think about it like a tree, the tree needs the roots to grow deep to enable the branches to reach up to the sky, and that's exactly how we function as well. So it's getting those well-being habits in place first, and unfortunately, again, we're not told this in the spiritual community. Yeah, great, come and do energy healing, come and have energy healing, go watch The Secret and do manifesting. But if we're going to play with that energy, we need to have those grounded roots in place. I mean, think about the tree that tries to grow too far when its roots aren't in place. So those important well-being habits from the science of positive psychology, meditating. I've done all my own research on this, which I talk about in my TEDx. Meditation, gratitudes, all of those amazing well-being practices in place, which yes, they might sound boring, or they might feel boring and not as exciting as hopping into the quantum and playing with energy. But if we start to do that, not only are we going to find very quickly out of alignment, but going back to 1 and 2, we're going to be heightening our sensitivities and not being able to fully ground that energy. And secondly, we're going to be opening ourselves up more to the dark as well. So these all interlink. So really, number 3 in grounding really does, I should have put it number 1 really, because number 3 really sets the stage for us being able to use our sensitive gifts, for the leaves of the tree to understand what's going on in the world, and to be able to, when the tree is in shadow, be able to fully honour that shadow phase and how that shadow is a gift, so that it can go back into the light again. So number 1, sensitive gifts, getting in touch with those and flipping that energy into a gift, setting boundaries around anything that isn't a gift or a fair energy exchange, or where you're getting paid to use your gifts. Number 2, the dark. So darkness out in the world, entities, being aware and responsible for that, and the darkness within as well. So doing shadow work, looking at your triggers, looking at ways you need to develop yourself. And then number 3, the basics of grounding. This is really, really basic stuff, but you will be surprised the conversations that I've had with energy healers who don't even have a meditation practice in place. Okay, so I cannot emphasize this enough. I felt like I didn't need to talk about this, because I felt like, oh, surely everyone knows, because I got so deep into the research for my TEDx. It's like, well, surely everyone knows this stuff, because it's obvious that you meditate every morning and things like that. And then I just had this awareness drop in of no, it's not obvious, Gemma, you have to speak about this. So that's why I'm here, showing up, speaking about it. Hopefully, you'll get at least something from this video to help you move forward on your alignment journey. And if you need any support, then reach out to me. Lots of love.